Morning, everybody. My name is Josiah, and it's still pretty weird to say my first name after 11 months of being called Boyd. So today I'll be doing the long speaking part of today. I always say that, so. So, yeah, I'm nervous, you know. What I'm going to do today, it's going to kind of seem jumbled up, but don't worry, it's all leading somewhere. Every time I preach, I want people to think about things. I want people to learn things. I want this to come up in a discussion later in your life. I want you to dig deeper and become a better person. So let's get into it. Today we'll be working out of Matthew chapter 9, verses 1 through 8. And let's read them right now. Back in the boat, Jesus and his disciples recrossed the sea of Jesus' hometown. They were hardly out of the boat when some men carried a paraplegic on a stretcher and set him down in front of them. Jesus, impressed by their bold belief, said to the paraplegic, "Cheer up, son, I forgive your sins." Some religion scholars whispered, "Why, that's blasphemy." Jesus knew that they were thinking and said, "Why this gossipy whispering? Which do you think is simpler to say, 'I forgive your sins,' or 'Get up and walk'? Well, just so it's clear that I'm the Son of Man and authorized to do either or both." At this, he turned to the paraplegic and said, "Get up, take your bed, and go home." And the man did it. The crowd was awestruck, amazed, and pleased that God had authorized Jesus to work among them this way. So, the part I want to highlight is the dudes that carried that guy to Jesus. I have had the privilege to carry people on litters before, stretchers, with the Army. And if you've never done it before, it's way harder than you think. It's way heavier than you've ever anticipated. It's way more awkward. And everything seems much further when you're carrying somebody. It doesn't clarify where they were. And for their sake, I hope it was down the block because it is ridiculous. But they probably came from 3 towns over, or they had to, hike trails or over mountains, and they had to make sure that their friend was taken care of and fed. And, they day in, day out carried this guy. And the reason they did it, though, was because they knew if they could just get their friend to Jesus, if they could just put him in front of him, that he would heal him and that he would be able to get up and go home. They tapped into a specific determination that pushes them to keep carrying their friend to be saved. Now, this year has been nuts. I don't know if you guys know about it or whatever, but it's been crazy. To put things in perspective, I mobilized with a unit out of Reno, Nevada to Poland, and I left on January 2nd, and when I finally got into country, it was towards the end of January. The craziest things that were going on when I got to Poland were Australia was on fire, and Kobe Bryant had just died. There was no social injustice. There was no election. There was no COVID-19. There was no toilet paper shortage. There was nothing yet. At that time, I was like, wow, this is crazy. 2020, this is out of control. And it was 2 things. We hadn't even scratched the surface yet. And it's led down some crazy stuff for everybody. Everyone in here has been affected by it. Whether you had to get several jobs to make sure that you got food on the table, or maybe you lost a job, or maybe you really needed that stimulus check, or you had to file for unemployment. And then after that, you had to fight for that unemployment check, whether it was, your core circle of people or some of your family, maybe they moved away, or maybe they moved in. And even though you love them, now that you got to spend 25/8 with them, you love them a little bit less. Maybe doing work at home on Zoom while your kids are doing Zoom in the other room, it's way harder than you thought. And math has changed since you went to school. It's hard. It's been a weird year. And it kind of makes me sad to talk about 2020 with people, because when something else crazy happens, people are just kind of like, yeah, 2020. It's like, that shouldn't be the answer. yeah, it's just 2020 should not be the answer to something horrible happening, but it's become the norm. And without you guys realizing it, you've tapped into a special determination to keep pushing forward, to keep striving, to keep making sure everything is taken care of, that every, base is touched, that everything is going to be okay. And it is hard, but you keep going and you keep pushing and you don't stop. And it's truly amazing after all this stuff that you've been through. The problem is, I'm pretty observant as a person. I'm pretty, I like to sit, watch, listen, understand people. I think it has something to do with being shy and, being an introvert. So it's just easier for me to tackle things when I see things. And this year has divided a lot of things, and it's put us on different sides on a lot of things. Everyone's a keyboard warrior on the line. And there's two people that I get reminded of every day in the Bible. The first man is Job. If you've never read Job, you can. It's super easy. With the Bible app, there's a plug. Or if you have a Bible. But it's super easy. You just turn to Job. But in Job, for those of you who haven't read it, the summary of the beginning is Job is a pretty wealthy guy. He's got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of things. And one day he's just kind of having a meal with some friends. And then someone shows up and they're like, hey, Job, just so you're tracking, man. A bunch of dudes showed up, killed a bunch of your cattle, a bunch of your oxes, and they left with the rest, and they killed all your servants, and I'm the only one left. Just wanted you to know that. And Job is kind of like, okay. Yeah. And before he can really gather his thoughts, someone else shows up, and they're like, hey, Job, just wanted to let you know that the heavens opened up, and fire rained down and burned all your crops and most of your sheep. And I'm the only one that survived to come tell you. So he's like, okay, I guess that's fine. And then someone else shows up, and they're like, hey, Job, just so you're tracking, just want you to know all your kids were having a meal together, and the foundation gave out, killed all of them. I'm the only one that survived to come tell you. And Job is like, what is happening right now? But the special thing about Job is he never curses God. He never veers from the path. He never steps away. He continues to push on. He continues to trust God. To the point so much that his own wife says, Job, are you still praying to God? And he's like, yeah, why? And she's like, curse God and die. But he doesn't. He continues to push forward. He continues to trust the path. He continues to, keep going. And I see that a lot in a lot of people. You've been hit with a lot of things. But you just kind of, keep going. We got to make sure ends meet. The other person I've seen a lot, though, this year is a lady that goes by the name of Naomi. Those of you who haven't read the story of Naomi, she's in Ruth 1. Naomi has a husband, and they have two beautiful sons, and they move away, and the sons get married, and then eventually the husband dies, and then eventually the two sons die. And at this time, Naomi is a female, so she has a problem, that's not good for her. You need males in your life at this time. So she has to move back home, kind of, with her tail between her legs and, lick her wounds and stuff. And she actually has a altercation with her daughter-in-laws where, they're like, we're going to come with you. And she's like, no, you can't come with me. And even if I had sons right now, would you stay around to get married for them? Would you wait for me to get married? Would you be around for all of that? And one of them leaves. One of them stays. Ruth stays. And when they go home, though, someone sees her. And, the kind of town starts to stir as someone has come home. And someone says, is that Naomi? And she says, don't call me Naomi. Call me Mara. The Hebrew word for Mara is bitter. Don't call me Naomi. Call me bitter. She becomes consumed by what happened in her life. She lets the rage course through her veins. She lets anger take over. And she goes by bitter. I see that in people too nowadays. Some people, all this stuff starts to happen to them and they just kind of smile and laugh and just move on in life. But some people are starting to be consumed by their bitterness. They're starting to hate. And they're starting to attack people. And that's not cool, you know? One thing that I've thought about a lot is right now is the perfect time to show the fruits of the Spirit. Those of you who don't know what the fruits of the Spirit are, they're love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And right now, we could use a lot of that. I've always thought, like, right, when you read in the Bible and when you hear these stories, like, the Christians were always doing, like, cool things where they were turning heads, and I've talked about it in the past, and they've really set the standard for people. And as years have passed, we've just kind of, I go to church, and I read my Bible, and I pray. But right now is like the perfect time to show people what being a Christian is all about. To love people and to be joyful and to show peace and patience and be kind. Have goodness in our hearts. Be faithful. Be gentle towards another. Have self-control when we don't agree on something. Right now is the perfect time to show people what it's like to be a Christian. It's the perfect time to be better. Right now is the perfect time to love one another. So, I'm almost done. So I'm supposed to tell the people to come up. But I wanted to tell you guys while they make their way towards this stage. There's one quote I always say every year, and I think it's more important right now than it ever has been before. I know that it's been stressful paying for things. Maybe you didn't have to buy things for people because they left your life and stuff. But it's not what's under the tree that matters. It's the people who's around it, right? So I got some homework for you guys, if that's okay. With all the craziness that's going on in the world, right now is the perfect time. Now that you've tapped into that determination, now that you've pushed and made it pretty far, right now when you're around your family, it's a time to kind of take a little break, take a step back, regroup, reevaluate. Smile, laugh, enjoy your times this holiday. And when you're around your family, whoever that is, whether it's blood or the family you've created, I want you to hug them a little bit longer. Hold them a little bit tighter. And show them that you love them. And as we go out into the world, show off the fruits of the Spirit and be a better Christian. Thank you guys so much.